leave a legacy.
Hello and welcome to the SOS Show live with Mary Evans. SOS stands for Share Our Stories. SOS stands for Help. On this platform, we committed to bringing you content that will help you live your best life, physically, mentally, spiritually, and financially, which leads to leaving a legacy and building generational wealth. I want to welcome you to the show and introduce to you my co-host, Phillips. Kaino Phillips, please come to. My goodness, Kaino.
With an introduction like that, how could you not go ahead and get live? I'm just saying. I said, let's do a do-over with that. Yeah, go ahead. Hit us one more time. No, I'm just messing with you.
Kaino, let me tell you something.
How you doing this evening?
I'm so excited. Kaino, for ones that's just tuning in and never watched the SOS show, we were a live show and we were used to that audience and, that clapping and when you come out on stage. So, Kaino, I'm just trying to learn to make it do what it do because this virtual thing is new for all of us. But I'm trying to create that space where we can make it as real as we possibly can make it. You know what I'm trying to say?
Absolutely. We're in a new day and time. It's just a new way of life as we have it right now due to this pandemic dynamic. But the thing is, you're doing superb with it though, Mary, with all your shows on your SOS network. This has been amazing, and way to go ahead and make the adoption to go ahead and make this something that's really going to be special.
Thank you. I sure appreciate that because it's not easy for the ones out there. Phase 2 2021 is coming, and we're going to have a virtual audience. So we working on some things, and I just want to thank you and our staff and our team. Thank you for being a part of the show. It's a Black platform for people like you and I, just to be genuine and talk about topics that you might not normally hear or hear the real deal on our other platforms, right?
Yes, important.
Yes. So we're going to get right into the show. Please comment, be a part of the show. Kaino and I are really in other shows on the platform. We really want to start engaging the audience. At one point, you'll be able to come into the show. We really want to make this work, Kaino. So please share, comment, and let's talk about it today. So, Kaino, let's get right into it. System, you telling me, I want you to tell us your thoughts and feelings about systemic racism. I want to hear it straight with no chaser, Kaino.
Well, systemic racism is real. It's absolutely real. No matter how we try to go ahead and mask it, cover it up, decorate it, it's kind of like you go ahead and take a pile of horse manure and even though you go ahead and sprinkle some cherries and some sprinkles on top of it, at the end of the day, it's still horse manure. And that's what we've been dealing with.
Yes.
But what makes it just so bad at this day and time, Mary? This is something that's been plaguing us, ongoing systematic oppression that's been shrouding us for all of these years, from the moment that we were brought here to this continent to where we are right now. And so these are things that need to go ahead and be dealt with and also need to be discussed. Because, now it's one thing to go ahead and have other races, end up hitting us with this, but it's also another thing for us to succumb to it and end up being some of our own, our own worst enemies within the dynamic. And so that's some of the things that's
now you preaching
underneath this umbrella. So
let me tell you this. Do you know a lot of us really don't have a clear understanding? So before we start and you get into your, I forgot, we want to show our audience this quick video and it just breaks it down. Then we get right back into your opinion of it. Okay.
Okay.
That's right. Small minute.
Okay. This is Jamal. Jamal is a boy who lives in a poor neighborhood. He has a friend named Kevin who lives in a wealthy neighborhood. All of Jamal's neighbors are African American, and all of Kevin's neighbors are white. Because Jamal's school district is mostly funded by property taxes, his school is not very well funded. His classrooms are overcrowded, his teachers are underpaid, and he doesn't have access to high-quality tutors or extracurricular activities. Kevin's school district is also funded by property taxes, so his school is very well funded. His classrooms are never crowded, his teachers are very well paid, and he has access to high-quality tutors and lots of extracurricular activities. Kevin and Jamal live only a few streets away from each other. So how come they're growing up in such different worlds with such different opportunities for success? The answer has to do with America's history of systemic racism. To understand it better, let's look at what life was like for Kevin and Jamal's grandparents. Decades after the Civil War, many government agencies started to draw maps dividing cities into sections that were either desirable or undesirable for investment. This practice was called redlining, and it usually blocked off entire black neighborhoods from access to private and public investment. Banks and insurance companies used these maps for decades to deny black people loans and other services based purely on race. Historically speaking, owning a home and getting a college education is the easiest way for an American family to build wealth. But when Jamal's grandparents wanted to buy a house, the banks refused because they lived in a neighborhood that was redlined. So Jamal's grandparents were not able to buy a home, and because colleges could prevent them from attending through legal segregation, their options for higher education were really scarce. Kevin's grandparents, on the other hand, got a low-interest loan to buy their first house and got accepted into a handful of top universities, which traditionally only accepted white students. This opened up a wealth of opportunities that they were able to pass on to their kids and grandkids. Even as late as the 1980s, an investigation into the Atlanta real estate market showed that banks were more willing to lend to low-income white families than to middle or upper-income African-American families. As a result, today, for every $100 of wealth held by a white family, black families have $5.04. A 2017 study confirms that redlining is still affecting home values in major cities like Chicago today. This explains how Kevin and Jamal inherited vastly different circumstances. Unfortunately, the story doesn't end there. A big part of systemic racism is implicit bias. These are prejudices in society that people are not aware that they have. Let's go back to Kevin and Jamal. Against all odds, Jamal manages to be the only student from his high school to get accepted into a great university, the same one that Kevin and his high school friends are attending. But after Kevin and Jamal both graduate, Jamal notices that his resume isn't drawing as much interest as Kevin's, even though they graduated from the same program with the exact same GPA. Unfortunately for Jamal, studies show that resumes with white-sounding names get twice as many callbacks as identical resumes with black-sounding names. Implicit bias is one of the reasons why the black unemployment rate is twice the rate of white unemployment, even among college graduates today. You can see evidence of systemic racism in every area of life. The disparities in family wealth, incarceration rates, political representation, and education are all examples of systemic racism. Unfortunately, the biggest challenge with systemic racism is that there's no single person or entity responsible for it, which makes it very hard to solve. So what can you do? The first thing you can do is work towards becoming more aware of your own implicit biases. What are some prejudices that you might hold that you're not aware of? Second, let's acknowledge that the consequences of slavery and Jim Crow laws are still affecting access to opportunity today. As a result, we should support systemic changes that create more equal opportunities for everyone. Increasing public school funding and making it independent from property taxes would be a great start, so that poor and wealthy districts can receive equal access to resources. Systemic problems require systemic solutions. Luckily, we're all part of the system, which means that we all have a role to play in making it better. Peace.
Kaino,
Ooh,
was that deep or what? I wanted
yeah,
our
there's a lot of
because everybody don't have a clear understanding of what we're really dealing with when it comes to, because it affects us in every area. Let's have your feedback on that video,
well, man, there's a lot of layers to that. Do you want to go ahead and break this down, one segment at a time? Because to pack it all, they said a lot in that little 3-minute clip.
Yes, they did.
It's true. Even when I believe the video started out with the educational system.
Yes.
Listen, There was a reason why they had landmark historical court case like Brown versus the Board of Education, which was to bust up segregation of schools to go ahead and be able to provide more of an equal opportunity for strong education. That was the reason why it took place. But after it was even passed, there was so many different things that was put in line to go ahead and deter that process from happening. I mean, look at the Little Rock Nine, for instance. I mean, those are kids. Orville Faubus, the governor of Arkansas, even though it was passed federally, I mean, that governor did everything humanly imaginable to terrorize those kids to go ahead and stop that process from happening. I mean, it's things like that. It's just this is something that has been plaguing us forever, and it still goes on to this particular day. Look at the funding process. Although I will say this about the funding process, a lot of times you want to compare, like, let's say Pontiac schools, for instance, you want to go compare that to like a Birmingham or Bloomfield Hills. The difference is this: a lot of that money that's coming in, yes, it's accessible and it's more readily made available, but there are different things that are put in place to try and offset some of those differentials of funding. But the one thing about us, we don't pass millages for nothing in the world.
That's our biggest problem, Kaino.
Absolutely, because those other cities, they pass millages, which is going to allow our educators to have a more of a stronger financial backing, so that we can go ahead and keep our high quality educators. We've had some dynamic educators here. We've had, for the record, and this may not even be the most popular statement, but it's true. The line of educators we had in the past was just, I mean, they were world shakers. They were just dynamic. But now it's gotten to a point where, coming into Pontiac is not the easiest situation. Right. And when you do come in here financially, you got some of these great educators that are forced to work 2 and 3 jobs just to go and make ends meet. It's not that they don't love the school district or the kids or the families involved, but
they can't pay the bills. When you say we can't change millages, Kaino, why do you think that's so? Why do you think it's so hard for us to do that?
Well, I mean, the thing to it is, I mean, that irritates me because now it's become something that it's a nasty cycle that's in place right now. Millage wise, it's just, look, we pay for stuff that to me, here's why I got a psychological discomfort with the whole thing.
Okay.
When I see something like a brand new pair of Air Jordans come out, brand new pair of Jordan shoes, you have a line wrapped around the building all night long to be able to get in there to go ahead and pay $220, $230. But if you take that same amount of money and less, and you go ahead and pass a millage, a lower dollar amount of that money is going to go to the educational system per household, per taxpayer. And that money, do you understand what $240 coming from every household will do for this district? I mean, it's things like that. And it's highly frustrating because it's like, I was fortunate enough to come through this school district, and I didn't go to a private school. I came through a public school system here, and I got a great dynamic education. When I say our kids nowadays to be able to be afforded that same opportunity, but it's just not there. But some of that still comes from a systematic racism standpoint too, though. But on the other side, it goes back to the original comment I made to you. It's one thing to be held down from other entities, other racial entities, but it's another thing when we start holding ourselves down. And that's the problem.
You're right. Do you think, I know it appears that some of our people that I talk to, Kaino, some of us have really lost just hope in every part of the system. You know how once you feel hopelessness, they have you, and they just don't value the importance of things like passing the millage. Do you agree?
Oh no, I absolutely agree. And people don't understand, because I'm looking at our comment line, and we're talking about the millage, and they're saying a lot of people don't understand, what the millage is. Look, millage is an opportunity for us as a community, and it's always coming out of our tax roll, where we're able to go ahead and say this is some type of a cause or a dynamic that we feel strongly enough about as a community to go ahead and put money towards that cause. And as opposed to knocking on your door every month or every other month to go ahead and get that money abstracted and pulled from you to ask you to pay it, it's just something that's just pulled out of your tax roll, and it will go to a particular cause. One millage, for instance, finally, like we were looking at the youth millage, it took us forever to go ahead and get that millage, passed, but the reality is that money is geared to go earmarked to go towards kids and fundamental processes for kids to go ahead and find recreation. That a lot of that deals with mentoring. A lot of that deals with different various activities, given the fact that our community centers are closed down. But but then you look at millage like the sinking fund millage. We were fine. We
Yes,
were able to get the sinking fund millage passed. That was going specifically for building improvements. But now that's beautiful, and I'm glad we did, because yes, we have old antiquated buildings in the city of
yes,
Pontiac that we need to go ahead and get fixed. But the other side of it too is this: what about the people that's manning those buildings? Some of these educators. We need to try and make this as easy as humanly possible, and that can really be helped if certain people go ahead and see the importance of passing these millages that will go ahead and feed towards that financial dynamic. But we just don't do it. So hopefully I gave a pretty good example of how the millages, how the millage actually,
yes.
what the millage is, and how they're applied to
That was really good. And I'm gonna read a comment, Kano. It said today the line was wrapped around the library for a free bag of candy for Halloween, but the same people won't go out and vote for changes like the militaries and the people who make the laws. That's a perfect example, Kano, what you just used about the shoes. I just do not understand it. And what happens is that those will be the first people that complain about all the issues and the problems that we have, but the last person to do anything to try to make a change. That was a very good example, and it's heartbreaking because they rather stand in line for a bag of doggone candy.
But that's a problem. That's a huge problem. I mean, our priorities is so misconstrued right now.
Yes.
And the reality is, and I'm telling you, and I don't know where it came from neither, Mary. It's our generation that dropped the ball on this, because the generation that raised us, I mean, and what makes this even crazy, the generation that raised us, it was a plant generation. I mean, it was a
Yes.
time where you had so many people that worked for the automotive industry. I mean, and they could go to work with 6th grade, 7th grade education. But even through that, a lot of them still saw the importance of trying to make sure that we were to go ahead and make the most of our educational situation. But we don't have that right now. And so now for us to be in this dynamic where we got these kids, our kids don't have a chance. I feel sorry for a lot of our educators.
Absolutely. And Kano, I have so many. We had 5 to 6 school teachers that came out of our family, and the things that they share is just unbelievable. But one of the things that I think happens to our people is that we don't have a clear understanding of what things mean. And even Kano, when you try to have shows like the SOS show to try to bring education, so we'll understand. Even a lot of people don't understand the voting process. A lot of people don't understand how many of the millages and how much it affects us when we don't pass millages. And we try to bring those topics to the show. And it's so funny, Kendall, because if you watch other programs or shows, I could put up some right now, Kano, got caught cheating, anything that's stupid, reality type shows, Kano, they'll be flooded. But when you try to educate, even when our people don't know, when we try to educate them, it's just not what they want to see or hear. Not everyone, but I think it's because we have lost the hope, and I just want our people to know that we can't give up. And when you feel so beaten down, Kano, and feel like even some of them feel like voting is why vote, because it never made a difference. But we have to not give up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you know what though, Mary, really the crazy part about that, and this is what I've discovered more so with this election than any other election, because I've had a lot more forensic conversations with a lot of people about, the whole voting dynamic. How can people go ahead and abort a process that they never even participated in? I got people that are 40, 45, 50 years old, have never actually voted in any election. That's federal, state, county, or city. So, and then they're the main one, and some of those are the main ones that want to go ahead and grab the mic, or like you said, go right to social media and start putting this information out about how the voting process has never helped African American. But the reality is, it has helped and it hasn't helped. The things that it has not helped with, the fact is there are processes that have been put in place to go and try and negate the minority vote.
Absolutely.
Like gerrymandering. Gerrymandering was developed after they put the electoral college process in place, because they had to figure out a way to go ahead and negate and pool all the minority votes into one particular in one particular area, so that you can go ahead and they can get the voting dynamic to go ahead and work for them. And to give you a prime example of that is back 10 years ago, and this is why the census was so important. Back 10 years ago, there used to be 2 Senate seats that came from this area. You had Hanson Clark, which was out of Detroit, And then you
Yes.
also had Brenda Lawrence, who was out of
Yes.
Southfield, and so those two seats at one particular point in time, those two seats used to come out of the Senate pocket in Michigan.
Absolutely.
But because we didn't come out and fill out those census
They
numbers,
had to go against each other.
yep, they wouldn't change the voting lines. And so
Yes.
now both of them had to go, like you said, Mary, they had to go against each other. And now, as opposed to having two powerful voices
Yes.
in
Yes.
the White House, now we only have one. I mean, in Washington, D.C. And so here we go. I mean, things like that. I mean, that's deplorable. It absolutely is. But I mean, we got to go ahead and do the things to protect ourselves too. And that way it goes right back to that systematical, that social and racial injustice. It is.
It
But
goes right back. It Kaino. It affects us in every area. When I always like to read up a stuff before the show, but it's not one area when I was reading, it don't affect us. Employment, the criminal system, housing, the wealth gap. That's what I think people don't understand is how deep this is. But
it is.
Kaino, when you and I, we just having this conversation, I would like to bring to the show also solutions. You know how they say we talk, Kaino. And anybody that's listening, we would love to hear your comments because Kaino, at one point we have to start talking about, we know all of these things are happening, but how can we together collectively come up with solutions? Because it starts right here in the community. It starts right here. You know what I'm saying?
It does.
Which is very important. Kaino, what do you, in your opinion, if you had a magic wand, what would you do to try to make change? The first thing that you would do, what did you think we could do? I know as somebody say we always talking, and I'm just wordless. Like we've tried everything. What do you think, Kaino, that we can do to change our mindset and to change what is happening for the people of color?
First things first, we need to go ahead and put Black history back into the classrooms.
I love it.
We do. We absolutely, because the thing to it right now, unfortunately, the adults in some of these kids' lives are really failing them. And so they're really not. So the only thing they're hearing about the electoral process or any type of historic value at all is coming from some of their parents. And quite frankly, some of their parents are raggedy with their thought process. Yeah. And so now they're over there dragging these kids into that world. But the reality is this: if you truly know all of the sacrifices that were made for us historically, for us to be in this place that we are right now, how could you absolutely turn your back and disregard, the type of strife that our people went through to go ahead and be able to put us in a position to go ahead and vote, and also to understand historically some of the things that would have taken place from a civil rights standpoint, from a Jim Crow standpoint. We don't got to go all the way back to the international slave trades or the institution of slavery. That's one thing, but to kind of bring it a little bit more forward, we do need to talk about it in Black history for sure.
And our kids need to know. You're right, Kaino. And that was a question too, is where do we start teaching our children the truth? Because, we didn't have Black history in the schools. And I think that the longer we go generation after generation not teaching, at one point we just lose it all. They won't even care about our history or what went on with us, Kaino. And that's one thing we have to do, is not depend on the school system or nobody else to teach them about our history. Or do parents feel like, is it even important to teach them? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. But but the thing too is, I'm telling you, right now, you have parents, and the thing is, I'm not willing to run around here and say these parents are just unintelligent, because I'm gonna tell you here. Let me just give you a live example. This right here scares me to the core of my soul. I'll never forget the very last year they had Jefferson, and I carried this with me for years. The very last year Jefferson middle school was open. They asked me to come and speak to a class, and I'm gonna try and make this as brief as possible. Asked me to come speak to a class, about the importance of education. When I got there, the little girl was getting thrown out the class. I asked the teacher what took place. The teacher told me, well, the little girl's been acting out all day, so she's got to go. So, I'm about to go send her to the principal's office, and she's probably going to be suspended. Asked the teacher if I could talk to her. Pull the kid out in the class, in the hallway, and start talking to the kid, giving her the rah-rah speech about you got to take care of your books and education and the importance of it. I said, don't you want to go ahead and advance from junior high school, go to high school and graduate? That little girl looked me dead in the eye and gave me the most deadening look I've ever seen. She said, sir, Mom, graduating. I'm going to be graduating. I said, what you talking about? You're not going to graduate. Little girl said, I'm going to do exactly what my mother told me to do. I said, well, what's that? She said her mother has 6 kids. Her mother instructed this little girl to have babies, not by one father, but by multiple baby daddies. Because if you do that, you're able to go ahead. Number one, you'll be able to pull more money from the welfare system. And the second side of it is some of the daddies will go ahead and pay child support. Some of them just won't. But the reason why you have with multiple daddies, there's more funding, there's more different sources of funding that's going to go ahead and come through to support that girl. I mean, and then this girl broke down the welfare system to me so tough, and she from her mama. It was so tough, Mary, and I've been pretty engaged in that whole process because of what I do for a living. I went home, I jumped on the computer. That little girl schooled me that day on how, on the different processes, on how to get the most out of this and how to navigate and maneuver through the welfare system. That was one of the most intelligent responses I've ever heard. That little girl giving me a dissertation, but that scares me to death because this is what is being schooled. This education, this type of education these kids are getting in their households, and if they take that and apply that to school, the sky is the limit for these kids.
Kaino, you have to be kidding me.
No, Mary.
That's so heartbreaking. And Kaino, when you look at the whole system and where it's set up, they say how can a system was never set up to help us in the beginning, period. And when you hear something like that, it just breaks my heart because you know what? Then now we have another generation. Now she says she learned it from her mother. Guess what? She'll have children and she'll teach the same thing to her kids. And I was looking at some videos earlier today, Kaino, and it talked about the history of Black people and our wealth. Kaino, we were already 400 years behind the game when they were buying wealth and passing wealth on to their family. We were not even allowed. I have a friend that mother back in the day had a white friend that worked in the banks, Kaino. She said they used to actually, when an application came through, they would tag that application, let them know this is a person of color and to deny the loan. So, Kaino, before I understood exactly how much we was held back, I used to always wonder like, why? You know what I'm saying? I didn't come up in a rich family, but we didn't want for nothing. We was one of the ones that had a little bit more than others, Kaino. And I really, for real, after I grew up and started really learning and educating myself about the system and how long they had kept us back, it's a lot of things I never understood as, growing up. Kaino, this was a system. It was structured and planned for us to stay behind the 8 ball. So when you have a system, we 400 years behind, Kaino, and then we in 2020 we still dealing with the same thing. It's just like same day, same thing, different day. We definitely have to start teaching our children different because we are over 400 years behind. That's why the gap of wealth is so big. That's why we have no time to lose, no time to play. We start educating our children that they could do more than work a 9 to 5, because in order to build wealth, it takes more than just working a 9 to 5. We have to build businesses. We have to own our own land. We have to invest gold, silver, stock, land, open a business, passing wealth on to our children, because we know we cannot pass a job, but we can pass wealth. And in order to do that, we have to change our mindset and start teaching it to our children now and not just depend on the school system to educate our children. That's why at 10 years old, I go hard with my grandson. Game is over.
But Mary, you and your family got it. You see the formula, your mama, she's a boss. And she passed that down to you, and you passing it down to your children and your grandchildren. That's legacy building. That's something that we just don't do. Entrepreneurship just has never been a priority. And I'm gonna be really transparent. I'll never forget when I first started my own business. My mother and father both educated, both educators. And and I never forget when I came home and I sat up and said, guess what? I'm breaking away from corporate America. I'm going to do my own. I'm going to have my own cellular business. After all these years of training and picking up all the tools, the tricks of the trade, my father looked at me like I just slapped 5 orphans. Because because that just wasn't something he was conditioned to do. He was always conditioned go do that good 8 to 5 job, 9 to 5 job, and make the most of it. But it was later on down the line where my mother started seeing it, and she started picking up through the things I was doing through the Ascent Foundation. To go ahead and kind of see exactly, the things that need to be instilled in these kids, from an intimate standpoint, to go ahead and make sure they understand the importance of it. Because if you are the boss and you can affect some of the people that you're going to go ahead and be able to hire, you affect everybody that you're going to go and hire. You can go
You have a
ahead.
point, Kaino.
Yeah, I mean, you can bring in people. You can bring in individuals. You can go ahead and school them, give them the game, because I hope that anybody who's in a boss situation is also looking to go and get the game, because you owe that. You owe that to the culture. You know, kids like to say, we just do it for the culture. Do that for the culture. Give
We
it
owe it.
and school them so that you have a lot more bosses running around out here to go ahead
Yes.
and build more business, more legacies, more enterprises, and then
Yes.
then we can look up and it'll be 1921 all over again. Black Wall Street. You know, we take it right back to Oklahoma and bring it straight up here to Michigan and beyond.
Chief Talk say yes. We have to break the cycle, because Kaino, you definitely made a point there when you came home. Like you say, your parents was educated, but when it came to entrepreneurship or saying we was going to start a business, that might have been scary for him. Kaino, let me give you an example. My grandson is 10 years old. They had a day in school. Everybody was like, I want to be a police officer. I want to be a teacher. And my grandson, Amari has 2 businesses at 10. He said, I'm an entrepreneur. He said, Granny, I told you they was going to laugh at me, because the kids was like, you are what? He said, I'm a bitch. They like, what? They didn't get it. You know what I'm saying? He been doing this since he was 5 years old. So it's all about the language and the mindset and what you teach them, where a lot of our kids is growing up only knowing about a 9-to-5. He knows nothing else but entrepreneurship. He knows nothing else but being a businessman, because that's what I've been teaching him since before he could understand what I was saying. He don't know what it is to say I'm gonna get a job. That's all he know, Kaino. At 10, invested in gold, silver, and land at 10. Because I purchase and I take them. I say, well, I bought 8 lots on California Street. I took him to the 8 lots, Kaino, and I said, Amari, I said, 2 of those lots are yours. He 10. When I buy gold, I buy him gold. When I buy silver, I buy him silver. When I took him to my rental property, Kaino, I picked up my parents gifted us rental property. I took him over there with me while I filled out the lease. And I said, Amari, this is our property. It goes down to you guys. So anybody's out there listening, what I'm saying to you, you have to show them, not just tell them, but show them. Every time I make an investment, I sit down, I show them, I take them, I let them see the buildings, I let them see the houses, I let them hold the gold in his hand, the silver in his hand. We have to teach them and let them feel, touch, and see. If we never see the difference, we have to know that we did everything we can where our future generation will see the difference.
Mary, what you're doing, but Mary, what you're doing with that is you make it realistic. What you're talking about, most kids won't have anyone talk about that. You might see that in the movie of the week somewhere, and usually the movie of the week doesn't have it's very few Black African American shows that really show the power of education, unification when it comes to building wealth or building a legacy dynamic. I think like the Cosby Show, which is the first time you ever saw like a doctor and a lawyer in the same household together, which is very doable. But now you start talking about and then it kind of transferred over into a different world. Which that show made me want to stay at the HBCU. But the reality is those type of lessons right there are going to be best suited when someone can see it live and living. So when your grandson starts talking to his little friends about it, when he gets as he gets older, he can go inside. Well, look. Well, this how you do it. Yeah, my grandmama told me. Here, if I'm going to get this property, this is what I need to go ahead and do. If I'm going to look to build this business, this is what I need to go ahead and do. This is what you can do too. I can do it. You can do it. Let's talk about it. Let's build it. Those are the type of things that we can put in place.
Exactly, Tanya. And I just want to motivate, and inspire our listeners, Kaino, because when we talk about racism, they also call it institutional racism. Some people know it as institutional. It's up to us to do what we can to protect our people and our children. It's not up to the government. It's not up to councilmen. It's up to us to change that and to change their mindset so they can live a better. Kaino, every generation to me should live better, right? My mother grew up picking cotton and poor, right?
Absolutely.
My mother made it a point that we would not live like she lived, live a better life. I think that my grandchildren and children should live better. Every generation should get better. Only Black folks you see where we have this cycle, I call it a generational curse, just in time. The other thing is we need to encourage our children to be better than we are.
Mhm.
Absolutely. We always
Absolutely,
want
Justin.
them to be better, Kano, right?
Mhm.
I was looking
Absolutely.
at a clip earlier today of Dr. Umar Johnson, and he was saying, I don't everything he say, I don't agree with, but some things he say is just raw and real. He
Mhm.
said our Black people are the only race that always want to be integrated and just want to tap dance and make everybody happy but our own people. I have property in Southfield, Kano. When you go down Southfield, you see
Mhm.
Jews by the dozens. Mexican town, you have Jew town. Every culture have their own town that they congregate with each other. We get together and they think we can't build together. All we do is come together and fight and act a fool. But that's not true, Kano. And if we put that unity mentality into our children, that's when we'll start to see things change, and we'll see another Black Wall Street. Because before, when we was doing Black Wall Street, when we were so successful, Kano, you know why?
Mhm.
We had to shop with each other. Nobody wanted to shop with our ass. We didn't have a choice but to
Yeah.
deal with each other.
Yeah.
We
But
had to spend our money with each other because nobody wanted us. Nobody wanted our money. As
mhm.
soon as the couple start making a little money, we able to buy a Cadillac. Remember Cadillac, diamond in the back, sunroof
Yeah.
top.
Yeah.
We were able to buy a Cadillac, get a house, and put some carpet through the house. You know what I'm saying? Get on the train to stay straight
Yeah.
and on to stop right. Kano, when we was not able to do to go out, we dealt with each other. We had to. We loved each other. We had our own everything. It wasn't until we started making a few dollars and everybody went crazy. Jews, the Mexicans, all of them. I don't care how much money they make, they stay together, Kano.
Yeah. But that's a problem, though, Mary. We're the only ones that won't do it for nothing in the world. The only
Nothing.
I'm telling you, look, Mary, you just had to play 377. I'm gonna tell you, look, you were the only play before you even got to you, there was a place right across the street from you called Four Brothers. And I'm
Yes.
gonna say it was the only place in Pontiac for anyone that was African American to go ahead and sit up and enjoy themselves, have a really great time because the other clubs, Tonic, Electricity, Have a Nice Day Cafe,
Yes.
yeah, those tiki bobs, those places were geared for. I mean, when you went down there, it looked like you were in Royal Oak. I mean, it was all Caucasians, Chaldeans, that was going in and out of that building. You have a few brothers and sisters sprinkled in there. We were visitors, but when we finally got a place, and those places down there would charge you 25, 30, 35, $40 a head to get in every night. You had this place right across the street that was sitting over there letting you in for free of charge. And all they asked you to do was just go ahead and come in, get you a little bit of food, get you a drink or two, sit back and enjoy yourself and
Yeah.
love on it. But the thing to it is, brothers and sisters wouldn't do that. They would come in there and they'll get one drink, maybe no drinks, or no food over there, and expect this business to go ahead and be able to stay afloat. They didn't charge overhead. So after about 3.5 years to 4 years later, they turned right around and said, look, we got to charge some type of overhead to help us with our expenses. They charged $10 to get in there. And people act like that was like someone was like they were handing out death sentences. And they turned on, and they turned on the owners of that establishment, and then you look at some place like yourself. I mean, the money that you would charge, you let people go ahead and rent the place out.
Yeah.
Near would it be if we went down to Lafayette Grand
I know.
or even St. George's down the way? But yet
Yeah.
still, people want to go he and high as far as paying to go in and support that Black-owned business. I would much rather hate on you than to support you. And we got
I
to
don't get it.
Black Wall
Kano.
Street didn't go and do it like that. Idlewild, which is in Michigan, didn't do it like that. Come on, y'all. We got to do better. We got and we
Kano.
gotta learn to love on each other. Yeah, we absolutely got to learn. I think Valerie said that. Valerie Bates, spot on. We do need to learn to love on each other. That's something we're gonna get to.
Yes. Kano, I believe in us, and I just really think that we could do it. And Kano, when you think about just trying to explain to our children today all the things in the hanging and all the killings of, all of our Black men, Kano, it's the hardest conversation to try to just make them understand it, Kano. And some people say it's worse, but Kano, I would say that it's always been among us. It's just that we have the cameras now and the cell phones. And
Mm-hmm.
now we're able to tape it. Nothing has changed. They always hated our ass. They was always setting us up. They was always killing us. We just didn't have it on camera, and now we have it on camera. So for all the brothers and sisters that was asleep and thought that we had arrived somewhere, we had never arrived anywhere. It's now we can tape it. So now that we have a clear understanding that we must come together and unite. Kaino, you can call me crazy, but I think we waking up and coming together, baby, because I see it slow but for sure that we have a clear. They made it very clear, very clear. They still hanging us in 2020, Kaino.
Well, absolutely, absolutely. But you know what? But now I'm about to go ahead and say something. It may
Go
be
ahead
popular,
and say
it may
it.
not be popular, but it's the truth. The
I want
reality
to
is,
hear it because what is this platform? For
yeah,
Black folks to have a conversation and keep it real and uncut. So let's go.
well, the reality to it is this. Yes, absolutely, this is taking place. But here's two issues we have. Number one, our energy level need to go ahead and stay on 1,000. If we're going to protest something, for instance, protest something. Don't go ahead and just do it until when you're on this emotional high for 2, 3, 4 days or a week, and then after that you just fall off like it never even happened. That's something that we do all the time. And the reality is, and I'm gonna use this for an example. Let's look at football, for instance. Let's look at Colin Kaepernick.
Yes.
You remember when Colin Kaepernick chose to go and take a peaceful protest and lean on one knee. Now everyone's looking at him like he was a hero now for doing it because he put it all on the line. And Colin, power to you too, fam, for that. But the reality is they asked for us not to go ahead and watch the NFL. But we could not do that. We did that for like a week or two. And next thing you know, we've been watching it ever since. I haven't seen a down of football since that moment happened. And I'm still going to stay with that too. Until Colin decides he wants to go in, he gets a job or something else change. And Colin he's done some dumb things.
Yes.
To go and offset.
You're right, Kaino.
But
do you know on some of the posts the white folks were saying that it won't last long with them. They gonna get mad, rant, get mad, and do nothing else. Do you know they say that about us?
Mary, let me tell you something. I had a guy I played softball with, because I played travel around. I think a lot of people who do know me know I travel around the nation playing softball. So guy on one of my teams sat up and told me, he said flat out, and I want to slap the SHI bleep out of him. He sat up and said, Kaino, man, he said, bruh. He didn't say bruh, he said, Kaino, my man. He said, look, he said, don't no one take y'all serious when it comes to protesting. Man, what do you mean you don't take us serious when it comes to protesting? He said, man, we know this. All we got to do is just wait y'all out. Y'all get outraged for a matter of a few days. And all we got to do is wait you out. Y'all be back to business as usual. I want to break him off. I want to go up one side and come down the other. But the reality was, Mary,
it was true.
Absolutely right. We let ourselves down by doing that. That's first and foremost. But the second side of it is this. It's one thing to have to go ahead and deal with this type of this type of action coming from other races. But it's another thing for us to go ahead and do some of the things that we're doing to ourselves. The murder rates are in the rafters right now, and a lot of this is coming. So right now, if you're an African American man in this country, or African American man, forget the country. Let's talk about Pontiac. So, I got to worry about some of the things that's kind of pitted against me from a racial divide standpoint, but now I got to also worry about my own brothers and sisters when I walk out, if they're going to do something to me, and I'm talking about for some of the dumbest reasons ever.
Kaino, stop right there. That's our next show, Black on Black Crime. We can get
into that. We can get into it because
and I've had a couple of people that inbox said, we need to talk about it because that's another thing that's all the white folks talking about is don't tell us nothing about Black Lives Matter because it don't even your lives don't even matter to each other. So we definitely go in there on Black crime and how our people feel about it. Do you have any comments on your watch party you would like to say?
Well, Mary, I'm not gonna lie. This watch party has been off the hinges here.
Let's talk about a couple of comments.
I got a few hundred comments on this. Wow.
Okay.
Let me see if I can go ahead and kind of scroll.
Yes, let's talk about some of the comments.
I think that we need to identify and develop our gifted. Then they will lead the collective. Practically, it's from my brother, Lamar. What's up? What's up, Stu? Lamar Stewart. Practically only the talented among us have the bandwidth to lead a business. Slow cats will be among us. But he's right. What he is saying is, there used to be something called, let's go back to the Niagara movement. We had something called the talented 10th. The NAACP and all that was spurned out of. where you took the top 10 percentile of our talented and gifted men were to go ahead and step up, to go ahead and usher these movements, these changes, these dynamics that's going to go and create, overall a seismic shift in our, in our cultural dynamic as well as our national dynamic. We need to go back to that thought process, and we need to include our queens in it. That talented temp, because
absolutely.
But when we get in it, we got to go ahead and make sure. But for all of us to be in it, we have to be within it with the thought process. We have got to be able to school people. Don't just be happy with achieving it for ourselves, a success. We got to share that success. And that's
have
what we don't do. We got to do it though. If we want to see change.
One teach one.
Yeah, if we want to go and see change. Second thing is this too. Stop allowing yourself to be, your history. No one from any other race should go here and outdo you on your own history. Know more about where you come from. And that happens quite a bit. And you know what? And for anybody Caucasian who just heard me make that statement, hey, I applaud you, because the thing is, you're supposed to go ahead and learn about everyone's history. I don't know just about Black history. I know about Latino history. I know about Asian history. I know about Caucasian history. That's something I've been schooled to go ahead and have to do. But the reality is, it's time for us to step our own game up, because if there's one form of history that we need to go ahead and be schooled on for sure, it should be about ourselves. About what we do.
I love that.
Well, they say if you don't understand, where you came from, you're doomed to go ahead and make a lot of the same mistakes or find yourself in the same situation.
Don't know who you are. Or where you going. You understand? All right. I love that. Let's read a couple more, because when we like to go ahead and read some of the comments. What else do you have on there?
I mean, there is. Let me see. Man, there's so many comments on here.
We gotta hit some of them.
Okay, y'all. Let me see. V has some good ones. I'm seeing if I can find her. She has some pretty great ones on here. She said we have to stop competing against each other, which she's spot on about that.
And I have one on the screen. Could you put it back up?
Yeah.
Okay. Toya C, let me read that. We are a worse enemy. Who cares if your bruh sis make more dollars than you? Funny thing is, we can all network, but too many want to hate by the sight and have no clue. Absolutely.
Well, she's right. She's right. But the other side of it too is this. Other side is, listen, here's what I need from my sisters, and I'm just gonna keep it real. Look,
keep it real,
sisters. Y'all, a lot of y'all become some true bosses nowadays. Y'all are, in your household dynamics, you can go ahead and be married to a man, and and y'all can end up becoming the breadwinner.
Yes.
I need y'all to go ahead and still keep your household leveled out. Because you're the breadwinner, don't mean you emasculate the man in that household, because you need the man to be encouraged. So that man needs to be at his best, to be your provider, to go ahead and be your protector, to go ahead and be that monster that's going to keep kicking and scratching and crawling. He needs to stay motivated to go ahead and be able to be the best that he can be, to go ahead and not only help that family household dynamic, but also to be able to affect his neighborhood and his community. And ultimately, if you do that, sisters, he should be bringing that love. He should be bringing that back, because you have no idea how much power you wield when it comes to the thought process of a man. And I'll be the first to tell you, my mother made more money than my father. My mother started getting promoted and got into upper administration with the district. She made more money than my father at one point in time. It flip-flopped, but the thing is, you never knew it, because my father was the man of that household, and he held it down as such. It was she didn't ever rub it in his face. I think a lot of these queens, I don't know if they just kind of get pissed and tired of those or whatever, but he like, you know what, screw you. Yeah, I'm that one. So now what? You can't do that to a man. I'm asking you, because we need stronger family dynamics. We do.
To build a strong community, we have it. We need it. And that's what builds strong communities. And that's what we're lacking as well. Strong communities change things. But queens, if any queens out there listening, do you have a comment on Mr. Kaino? He's saying when we the breadwinner, we easy to tell the kings, going to sit down somewhere, because actually I'm the one that's bringing home the bag with all the money. If you listening out there, queens, is that something you're doing? Do you agree with Mr. Kaino? Yes or no? Okay, the man is the head and the woman is the helpmate. Okay, that's coming from Donna Jean Brown from the SOS show.
Well, here goes, and Denise Bond. What's going on, Denise? She sat up and said, you have to have his back no matter what. Two as one is strong. And then we got Jackie. You know, what's going on, Jackie? She says, so true. You know, said, absolutely. I'm right with the statement that I made. The reality is, look, Queens, I want to make sure y'all understand, because sometimes I don't know if y'all really understand how much we need you. We absolutely need you to be able to be at our best. And in this day and time, Mary, we got to be at our best. You see what we pitted against. We just watched the man perfectly executed, you know, for 8 minutes and 40 seconds with a knee on his neck. I mean, we got to be at our best to be able to protect you, Queens.
You preach it, Kaino, because I'm going to tell you, I used to believe that, you know, at one point in my life, you know, I've been married now 5 years, but I had 3 corporations going on, a lot of things going on in my life, right? And I used to think, I date a little bit and, go over to the gas house. I always had a briefcase with me because I always had work to do, right? Mm-hmm. And I think, how my husband got me, like, I walked in one day into the house with my briefcase. He was like, you come over here, you work 2 hours and then you sleepy. Then I'm ready to go to bed. He didn't care. He's like, listen, I don't care how much money he made. He said, all the other brothers been letting you get away with this. I don't care if you have 10 corporations and $1 million. This don't work for me. And I did. I think I sort of had that, like, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I'm telling you, Kaino, it don't work because you need each other, right? And absolutely. So I finally met somebody, I made more money and he didn't have a problem with that. But he brought to the table what we had and we made it as one. But I'm going to tell you, I have dated some brothers that said, no, once they saw how I was laying, they like, because they felt like that if they was not the breadwinner, they didn't feel like the man. And I hear you saying that sometimes queens will make them feel that way. So I made it, you know what I'm saying? Is that what I hear you saying?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Okay. Look, the bottom line to it is this. Look, the thing is always you have to find a balance in your relationships.
Yes.
Me personally, I can speak from my past relationships. Whenever I have someone who's my woman, I make sure I include her. When I'm going to all these different events, I'm whisking all over the place, I'll make sure that she's included. I make sure everybody knows, so there's no misunderstanding as far as who my woman is, who my lady is. It's here. My team that's my teammate. That's my road dog. My ride or die. That's what you got to go ahead and do. But a man has to go and feel that. I'm looking at my brother Stuart was like, shit. His exact words was, shit. If I ain't the man, hey, and the reality is, and my brother Euro Bay said, I concur, Mr. Phillips. The reality is this. That is how a lot of men go ahead and think.
Okay.
You gotta go ahead. Look, it's got to be a team effect here. If you don't have that, the bottom's going to go ahead and fall out of it.
Okay. And I see we took the show into racism, into communication, but it all plays in one because we have so many things going against us. We sort of just went into things that we do that go against ourselves, that we have to look at the way we handle, because as long as we divide it, they're always going to win. And it's all a part of the system.
But if we can't be unified in our own households, we will be unified outside of our households. You get what I'm saying? Because the first fundamental, the one that should mean the most to you is inside your house, your home. That was something that your mama and your daddy, they schooled you on as you were coming up. Same thing in our household. Yeah, what you're lying to. If there's something going wrong in the household, you do not take that outside the house so anybody else know that you're fractured. But you want those fundamentals right inside of your home, and we need more of that because we got to spread that on. Because right now we're activating, we're fighting from behind now. We are, and the thing about it is, and we can't go ahead and just cast it off to poverty, because the reality is, from a poverty standpoint, a lot of my Latino brothers and sisters, they're in that same dynamic too. But the thing to it is, they are unified, and they're unified.
They are unified, Kaino. Do you hear me? And you know what else? I watch the children. Like I say, it's a lot of Jews. They teach the kids, Kaino, from the beginning. That is what they do. And that is one thing they say, all you have to do is study successful people or study other cultures. And we can learn from them, right? Absolutely. That's all we have to do, Kaino. And like I say, guys, if you have a topic that you would like to hear on the late night show with Kaino and I, we would love for you to be a guest. We would love for you text some topics, because if no other show on this show, we want to talk about shows that can change the way we live, change our mindset to uplift and inspire our Black community. That's what this late night show is about. Late night show with Mary and Kaino. So Kaino, we're going to wrap this show up. Do you have any more comments you want to read before we go? Give me one good one. Give me a good one.
Well, like I said, Mary, my watch party has been off the chain.
So let me explain the watch party, Kaino. Guys, if you guys would just like the SOS show and you won't have to watch it from the watch party with Kaino, we come on the first and third Saturday of each month. Then you are able to comment right on the show. So please, guys, like the SOS show Facebook, and we also will be streaming on YouTube. So you will be a part of the show. We also will be dropping a link in every show. When you like the show, you can click onto the link and we can bring you right into the show and have conversation with us. So guys, please like, share, comment. Kaino and I are working on some awesome shows. We would like for you to be a part of the show, but you must like the page, and then that way, Kaino, you wouldn't have to read your comments because they'll come right into the show. So guys, please take time and like the SOS show. This platform is a platform for Black people so we can have our stories, share our stories. SOS show, share our stories. Anything that can change us, anything that make us better. Yes, Kaino.
And I want to say this too, Mary. Also, too, as far as this platform, I want to make sure we're really clear. This is just only specifically for African Americans to go ahead and join, because for us to go ahead and have the conversation, get better understandings, we need to hear how the other side feels. Yes. And so, because we need change right now, it's not one of them things where we're going to go ahead and have a
welcome, Lisa.
Party. So we encourage everybody to go ahead and join this dialogue. And also too, Mary, if I may say, I think this is our 6th episode, and this show is getting bigger and greater. And I want to just tell everybody out there how much we appreciate them for their time and always chiming in with us, because we want to have these important conversations, because we want to go ahead and be able to hear some of these great, and we got an intelligent base of individuals that chime in on this show. I mean, it's amazing. They're absolutely amazing. And I appreciate it, because this is the kind of constructive conversation that creates change. And so that's what
Kaino. Create change. I'm so excited every time I hear that word, because this is the thing, is Kaino is for everybody, absolutely. But we would love for you, Lisa Hollismore. I came in at the end looking forward to the next time. Thank you so much. Please like the page, the SOS show. And Lisa, think about being a guest. We love having guests on the show. If you guys email the SOS show live@gmail.com, we can know ahead of time that you would like to be a guest. I'll let Kaino know. We can bring you into the show. But once you like the page, you're able to comment on the page. You're able to join us. We would like for this show to grow larger. Like you said, we need everybody to make change. It's just, it's not just for us, but the platform was created and my vision for us.
Mm-hmm.
The SOS show live with Mary Evans. Thanks for listening, and thank you, Kaino. Every first and third Saturday at 11 p.m. Please like the page. We have something new and different for you every day. Thank you, and we appreciate you.
Man, I appreciate you as always. Thank you for building this platform. And this is lightning in a bottle. Let's go ahead and keep it electric. So
let's get it. Talk to you soon. Be safe, and please remember to vote.
Yes, everybody, come on out there. I need you to get that vote in by Tuesday, 8 o'clock. Hey, look, anything before 8 o'clock right now, that needs to be your priority. Get to the poll. If you don't have a polling station, go right to City Hall. Right over to the clerk's office and let your voice be heard. Please.
Yes.
It depends on it.
Absolutely.
So
peace and love. And see you
everybody
in a couple weeks, third Saturday. Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Take care.